Nolan Javier Wells is an 18-year-old young man who thought it would be a wonderful idea on July 4th to go out with his friends. They were going to go on a boat ride, but then tragedy struck when all of them came back as planned except Nolan. And so right now there's a discourse going on about the fact that he was the only African American guy that was there, and the fact that all his friends have since lawyered up and are not saying anything is having a lot of people really angry as to how was it if there was friends that didn't even wait to make sure that he did return with them, or whatever was going on, that they, when you go somewhere together, you come back together. Anyway, the whole TikTok is basically weighing in on their opinions on what it is and how we should really is when it comes to relationships with other people as a black person, and also telling our children, telling young people the truth about their relationship with other nationalities and how they really feel. Like, you might have friendships with them, but then in reality, when anything happens, they're not looking out for you at all. And so there seems to be, according to everyone here, there seems to be sort of a naivety. Everything is all good. These are different times now. And there's a naivety that, hey, they're not really as cruel as in the past, or having other friendships with other people. They'll always look out for you. Well, friends are always going to be friends. And it's sort of similar to the Carmelo Anthony situation, where he thought his friend was cool, whatever happened. They've been friends since childhood, and everybody else is just as what you think it is. But most times, that's not the case.
The body of 18-year-old black teen Nolan Xavier Wells has been found. His white friends who were with him on the trip have already hired lawyers. Wells vanished July 4 during a 4th of July boat outing to Horn Island, Mississippi, about 10 miles off the Gulf Coast. A park ranger found him in the water near the northwest end on July 6th. His phone was not with him. It was in his father's possession. The island has no cell coverage and is only accessible by private boat. Search teams, including the Cajun Navy, scoured land and sea since his disappearance. Authorities have not said how many people were on the boat or who made the missing person report. But online video suggests a possible altercation before the friends left Wells behind. One friend is the child of a judge, and all of them quickly retained lawyers. Wells was reportedly heading to meet a girl, but instead his friends took another boat and departed without him. Why did his phone return, but he did not? Why the immediate legal protection? The family and activists are furious, comparing this to other cases where black victims' deaths were dismissed as accidents. Officials are awaiting DNA confirmation, though the family says they have identified him. What do you think?
Stop letting your fucking kids be friends with white folks. And this is not to say it's not always about race. It's not that deep. That's the motherfucking problem. Y'all going, it's not that deep back into slavery, because it is that motherfucking deep. Because they allow us to feel like we're accepted to a position where we start thinking like we're one of them. And I just so eloquently had to tell some of my kids that I mentor, you have to be twice as good as them to get half of what they get. Because you have to understand the system that they operate in is not because they're white, it's because their whiteness gives them the ability and the privilege to do so. So when we allow our kids to be friends with other races, even this particular situation that just happened with this young man that came up missing after he was on a boat ride with 3 other young white men. You put them in a position where they begin to believe that they are equals. And it's not to say that they aren't. I take that back, because they aren't. We have to get back to teaching our kids that we are the superior. We are the blueprint. We are the foundation. It is hard to be friends with someone whose culture comes from, is rooted in creating oppression for a group of people, a race of people. And these are the friends that our black kids believe that they can be friends with. That's their family that they come from. That's not how this shit works. And this is coming from somebody, I went to some of the whitest high schools, was able to adapt. I'm talking about code switching. I'm talking about all of the above. Was friends with white people. Have literally lived with white people in my foster homes. who, thank God, were pure, genuine-hearted people. And I'm not to say that every white person is like this, but the majority. You have to understand that the day and age that we are in is very similar to 50 years ago, 200 years ago. The only thing is that they are extremely well at being able to manipulate the structure and the formatting of how they can oppress you, how far they can go to harm you, to damage you. Because in order for the oppressor to see that something is wrong, they have to first acknowledge that the person is not property. They do not view us as a person, they view us as a property. Therefore, how can my property be as equal to me? Do you equivalate your value to your home or your apartment, your car, whatever it is that you possess, to the same value that you equivalate yourself to? It just doesn't fucking make sense. We do not need to be having these type of interpersonal relationships with other races. It is that deep. It is that deep. And like I said, it's not every white person. You will get maybe 5 good ones out of a fucking 500,000. But the majority is what we are battling against, not the minority, because we can't acknowledge history for the ones that have fought and stood up with us and understood that this is wrong. Because in reality, the structure that we live in is not going to be changed by black people. It's going to be changed from white people saying to white people that this needs to change because it's wrong. But I'm telling you, as a mentor, as somebody that grew up with white people, as somebody that loves people, the spirits and the world that we operate in, you cannot allow your kids, hell no. No, you can't go with them. They can come over here. It's got to be that motherfucking deep, because it's not that deep right back where we motherfucking fought to not be at. And I believe our ancestors did not fight, die, swinging, crying to get us to this motherfucking point. I just don't believe it. So block me, delete me, do whatever the fuck you want to do. I wholeheartedly stand behind that. Use your discernment. Teach your kids well. Educate them. Educate yourself, because we are in a day and age. If you do not know who you are, you will be told who to be. If you do not say that this hurt, they will tell you that you enjoyed the pain. Figure out what side you want to be on. Protect your motherfucking kids, because I could tell you the same way that the motherfucking kids lawyered up behind that situation, they gonna take care of theirs. When the fuck are we gonna start taking care of ours?
My people, cautious is no longer good enough. We are not teaching our children the art of fear and suspicion well enough. Being raised in a Great Lakes state, you know how many boat parties and cabin trips and all that type of stuff I've been invited to over the course of my life? You know how many times I've gone? Remote areas as the only was never an option. Either I'm bringing 5 more people that look like me and half of us will be packing, or I'm not going. Remote areas are their method of choice. Always. Well, we went on a hike and she slipped off a cliff. If it wasn't no clear motive, how is anybody gonna disprove that? If they just don't like you, take your butt out there on that boat. He fell overboard and we couldn't do anything about it and we couldn't save him and we didn't know what to do. Long as everybody keep their story straight, which they will, how is anybody gonna refute that? He was missing at 3 o'clock and they were partying again by 7 p.m. I'm not going anywhere alone with y'all where there are not going to be a plethora of cameras. Just off of the invitation to go to a remote area alone, knowing I'm the only black person in the group, I'm not going. Caution ain't good enough, and history has told us that over and over again.
I went to a predominantly white high school and a predominantly white college, and I can tell you right now that what happened to Nolan, okay, what happened to him was not an accident. I think we all know what happened. And here's the thing, it's like, this is why I always say you cannot be the only one. And I'm going to speak to my Africans real quick, and even just my immigrant community, because we do this thing a lot. Whenever we want to acquiesce and get wealth and increase in our status, the first thing we do is we run and get into proximity of whiteness. And when you take your dark-skinned kids or your cultured kids and you take them to extremely white spaces and they are unaware of the racial undertones of their existence, especially if they're African, and they're unaware of the layers of what Black people in America have gone through already, and they're the only one, there are going to be consequences. Now, God forbid they're ever in a situation like Nolan was, which we know side-eye someone wrong, right? This isn't accidentally fall off of a boat, right? But if they don't know, they think that they're just like them. They think that racism does not apply to them. And I have seen a lot of African kids who are affluent or who are rich, who are in heavily white spaces, be completely unaware of their blackness. And it is on the parents to do a better job, to not just get them and integrate them in spaces where they're around other Black kids, African kids, but to also be educated about systemic racism in the United States. Because whether or not you think you're Black, you're Black. When a white person sees you, they're not going to say, oh, this person looks Ghanaian, this person looks Ugandan, this person looks Black American. All they're going to see is Black. They're going to contextualize you in Blackness and treat and expect you to be the kind of Black that they were raised to hate, or they were raised to be racially biased against, right? So this is something that I think a lot of people are not getting, is that proximity to whiteness does not save you. Proximity to whiteness, or your distancing from Black culture as an African, is not going to save you or your children. You must be educated. You must understand what systemic racism is and move accordingly.
This is the exact reason I tell my kids, friend or no friend, you can't trust anybody. How is it possible for a group of friends to go to Mississippi's Horn Island, but when they come back home, they come back without somebody that they went with? And they're going to say race ain't play a part. You see everybody in this picture right here. Tell me what looks different. Tell me. You had an 18-year-old accomplished football star, Nolan Wells, goes to Mississippi Horns Island with his friends on the 4th of July, and then he turns up missing. Mind you, all of his friends make it home safe. And the person that went with them, Nolan Xavier Wells, he's missing. And nobody has nothing to say about that. You have his so-called friends saying that they don't remember anything. They don't remember seeing what happened to him. Mind you, they have pictures on the boat. Mind you, they have pictures together, but nobody knows what happened to him. Now you got the Coast Guard, sheriff deputies, Marine units, and multiple agencies searching for him right now. They're searching the waters, searching surrounding areas, trying to figure out what happened. They're also saying that the last time he was seen with a team. They're also saying that they found his phone, but they didn't find him. What team do you know right now would leave his phone behind? Tell me that. But you see how all of this sounds? This is why disappearances like this and places like this always leave people questioning. If you spend time looking into missing person cases like this, then you already know what may be the outcome. Do you understand how this young man's parents has to feel? They just want their kid back. We definitely need to spread the word about this. We need some answers. This shit is crazy.
See that there's some people that still have a many of questions, which I still have a many of questions as well. But let me show y'all what I ended up finding out last night about Javon Williams and what he had to say about 18-year-old Nolan Wells and the last time that he saw him and around what time it was and who he saw him with. This is what somebody dropped down in my comment section last night on a video that I did about 18-year-old Nolan Wells. And if somebody get in my comments saying, oh, how old is he again? I'll only delete your comment. I'm not going to entertain you. It says Javon Williams told the press that he last saw Nolan Wells for the last time shortly after 4 p.m. on Saturday, July 4th, 2026, while they were on Horn Island. Williams stated that Nolan was last seen talking with a girl. So therefore, I did more digging into this to find out exactly what Javon Williams was saying. So it's being said that 17-year-old Javon Williams is the best friend, or said to be the best friend, of 18-year-old Nolan Wells. Wells headed to Horn Island on Saturday with friends. His best friend, 17-year-old Javon Williams, said he was supposed to be on the same boat, but it filled up. Williams rode out on a different boat, but he saw Wells on the island. He believes he saw Wells for the last time after 4 p.m. Saturday. Now, the way that this part is put, I feel like it's very important. It says Wells visited with a girl, Williams said, but also chatted with other friends in the crowd. As soon as we got out there, Williams said, he told me that he loved me. Wells always had Williams' back. If somebody talked bad about Williams, Wells would stick up for his friend. It also says both young men left their phones on the boat that Wells rode out on. Williams later retrieved his phone, while Wells' mother found her son's phone through location services, Hand said. Wells was last seen near the western tip of Horn Island where the current is strong. Trace Carter talked to Wells before the island trip. Carter told Wells, "Just hit me up when you get back. Just be careful, bro. Watch out for yourself." Wells responded, "I got you. I'll hit you up later." Remember what Javon Williams said. Javon Williams said that he last seen 18-year-old Nolan Wells around after 4 p.m. and he saw him visiting with a girl as well as chatting with some friends. Could this be the moment that right here where it says Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him? Could this be the moment where the friends was trying to get Nolan Wells to get onto the boat, and instead of Nolan Wells getting onto the boat, that he decided to go ahead and stay? And if that's the case, it would also explain how Katie was able to hear Nolan Wells' friends saying to get on the boat. As many of people are saying that there's no cell service on that island, and or it's very rare that you get cell service on that island, so therefore it's unlikely that she heard that over the phone while she was on the phone with Nolan Wells, which means that she would have had to be in the same vicinity as Nolan Wells as well as those friends in order to hear those friends telling Nolan Wells to get on the boat. I also feel like it's very important that they say that Javon Williams said that Nolan Wells visited with a girl and chatted with some friends. To me, visited says that you spent some time. So meaning that the time that Nolan Wells and also Katie spent together, it doesn't sound like it was brief. It sounds like it was brief when he chatted with some friends, because when you chat with somebody, that could be quick. That tends to be short. But when you visit somebody, that implies spending time visiting. Again, this is only my opinion, and the reason why I'm talking about 18-year-old Nolan Wells and what happened to 18-year-old Nolan Wells is because I was directly asked from somebody very, very, very close to the family that asked me if I could help with putting this story out and helping the story to circulate, so therefore more people know about 18-year-old Nolan Wells and what I believe may have happened in this situation. So therefore, that's why I put my opinion out, because I was directly asked. People are still questioning, why would anybody leave their friends? There's a many of different circumstances why somebody would part with their friends. I see that some people are saying that there was supposedly an argument and or a fight between Nolan Wells and also those friends. But in that video and clip or voice that I heard and everything like that, you can't really tell who that is. That could have been anybody at any different time. There's so many people out there, and that could have been so many different people that was arguing, as it doesn't show who was on that video. At least I haven't found a video of it where it shows clearly who was on that video at all. But we do know that 17-year-old Javon Williams said that he left his phone along with 18-year-old Nolan Wells, but Javon Williams went and got his phone. So it's saying that Nolan Wells never really was thinking about his phone to go get his phone. After all, they're saying that there's no signal on that island, so therefore, what would be the benefit of your phone if you cannot use it? So by Javon Williams saying that he actually saw 18-year-old Nolan Wells visiting with a girl and also chatting with some friends, it says to me that it is very possible that at that moment that those friends were trying to convince 18-year-old Nolan Wells to get on the boat. 18-year-old Nolan Wells may have been saying he didn't want to get on the boat, that he wanted to go ahead and chill, that he was going to be good. He'll find a different way, he'll find a different ride, he'll get on a different boat, whatever it may be. But it had to have been something that those friends were like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and get on the boat and we're going to go ahead and leave. And also, remember, it said that Javon Williams and also 18-year-old Nolan Wells both left their phones on the same boat that 18-year-old Nolan Wells read out there on, which would mean that that phone would be in which boat? The boats that he rode out there with the friends with. And that's why the friends would have the phone. I truly feel like those friends could have ditched that phone at any moment. Heck, when they got in the boat, and heck, when they paddled off and seen his phone right there, they could have easily just threw that phone out. I'm feeling like they may have held that phone, hoping that if 18-year-old Nolan Wells didn't know anybody else's phone number to be able to reach anybody, that he probably knew his own phone number and probably might have even called his own phone, or may would call his own phone. But I'm pretty sure that those friends would know that that phone would have location services on it, as it said that they have been friends for years, which would mean that they would know if Nolan Wells would keep that location on his phone, which would say, yes, 18-year-old Nolan Wells keeps that location on his phone. I see some people questioning, well, why would the boys get lawyers? Why would they get lawyers if you're innocent? You don't need lawyers. That's not absolutely true. We done seen innocent people be charged just because it truly seemed like and or things pointed that they might have been the ones a part of foul play. And when you have so many people that's pointing fingers at you and this, that, and the third and accusing you and such and saying this and saying that, it's only smart and only right to get a lawyer. And that way, nobody can accidentally take what you're saying and flip it around and or to try to use it against you in a way that might even jeopardize your freedom. Innocent people are found guilty all the time. Let's not act like they aren't. No, I'm not saying that I'm right in this situation or anything like that. I'm saying that this is what my mind and my brain is getting from this situation, and this is my speculation and my opinion of what may have occurred or transpired from the details that I've been finding. But at the end of the day, we know it's best that many of people get up and talk about 18-year-old Nolan Wells, regardless if they're just putting out their opinion, due to the fact that we want the story of 18-year-old Nolan Wells to circulate, so therefore, in hopes that they'll do a thorough investigation, rather than ending up saying that there's some type of foul play and sweeping this under the rug. By them saying that many of people are stopping to care about what happened to 18-year-old Nolan Wells, they know that there's a lot of eyes on everything. And when there's a lot of eyes and a lot of hearts on a situation to care about that situation, they tend to take it more seriously and they tend to investigate it more thoroughly. So it's better for people to be talking about 18-year-old Nolan Wells rather than not talking about 18-year-old Nolan Wells, because it's going to help the story of 18-year-old Nolan Wells circulate. So therefore, it gets out there even more and people know about it even more. And absolutely, there's always the alternative that things might come back that there was absolutely no foul play whatsoever at all. Right now, my mind is not saying that there was no foul play, due to the fact that it seems like the person that last seen 18-year-old Nolan Wells is hiding the fact that they were the last person to see 18-year-old Nolan Wells alive. I'm still concerned and worried with who was the initial person that brought Katie out there to the island. Who was she originally supposed to leave the island with, and who she was out there on the island there hanging out with? Because still, to me, when it says Katie was safe because my brother and sister-in-law went and got her, that says to me that they had to go get her, somebody different, and it's not the initial ride. So if the ride of Katie's did change, why did the ride of Katie's change? What was the different variation or variable that ended up occurring that the ride needed to change? And or was Nolan Wells right there with Katie when the brother and the sister-in-law and the whoever else that might have been on that boat arrived to come get Katie? Was Nolan Wells right there with him, and could something had occurred when they went to pick up Katie and they saw Nolan Wells with her, if Nolan Wells was with Katie during that time that they picked her up?
The autopsy of Nolan Wells is allegedly supposed to happen today. And I got a little bit more information for y'all. These are the Instagrams of Nolan's friends that left him for dead. Well, fuck left him for dead. They killed him. This is Jax, Eric, Warren, Wyatt, who I keep getting information that they deactivated their Instagrams, but they're not deactivated. They just are set on private mode. And all of these boys have lawyered up. They lawyered up like yesterday. But I think people don't realize this just happened on the 4th of July. They are already lawyered up. For what, though? You didn't do anything. Why are you lawyered up? They had a fight with Nolan right before he died. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. For what? I don't know. So an altercation happened before they were fighting. I mean, before he died. And remember, these are teenage boys. They was drinking and all that. And when white boys drink, they get real racist. You know how, like, they say a sober mind or whatever the fuck they say. There's also some misinformation out there like, oh, one of their friends' moms is a judge. That is partly true. It's not his mom, it's his stepmom, and it's her Facebook. Now, this is Ashley Cole. I know the picture's a little bit blurry, but this is her Facebook. These are the kids of judges, doctors. Oh, let me show y'all Warren's dad. Hold on. This is Warren's dad. Hey, Ben. He's a doctor in emergency medicine. These kids are the kids of doctors, lawyers, judges. So if you think for a moment that justice is going to be served in this instance that we all have seen time and time again, you can think again, baby. Also, when I addressed the story, his friends was telling like, oh, he stayed behind for a girl. This is what happened. The girl name is Katie, right? Here's the thing, though. Y'all can say what y'all want about the girl. Oh, who is this girl? Her name Katie. Her picture right there. He met Katie. He did not know Katie before that day. He met Katie. They talked. They chilled for a second. But Katie separated from him and, assumed he was going to go back with his friend. Katie's story is the only story that did not change. His friend's story changed. First they said, oh, we thought he got a ride. Then they said, oh, we thought he left with a girl. Katie's story has been consistent the entire time. And she's the only one cooperating with authorities. All the other people got lawyers. Now, this is a message from Katie's mom. She posted it on Facebook. On TikTok, they were saying, it's real encrypted. Why did your brother-in-law have to go get her? Y'all can read it and do what y'all want with it. See if she's telling the truth or not. Allegedly, the autopsy is being done today, but this is my suggestion to his mom: get your own autopsy. Get your own autopsy done. Hire your own private investigator, because you let them people do it, they're going to fuck you over more than you already have. I couldn't even sleep last night researching this information about Nolan. It was unsettling. So I can only imagine how the mom feels. She lost her son. Do your own autopsy. Get your own private investigator, because these people are going to bury your son more than you already have to. They are going to bury this like they do every other story that happens just like this. I know y'all remember this. Remember that black girl went to a sleepover with all her white friends and never came the fuck back? None of the friends don't know we still don't know what happened to that lady. They don't know what happened. Nobody know nothing. Just gone. All we know is she went to a sleepover with all her white friends, bitch, and never returned. They also want to add, they killed him early in the day on the 4th of July and then continued to party, drink, and watch the fireworks later that night. It's not like, oh, they killed him and then went home. They killed him and continued to party during the 4th of July. They come earlier in the day, continue to drink, continue later on, watch the fireworks, high-five each other like nothing fucking happened. Like they did not just kill their friend. These fucking white people are crazy.